This isn't just another podcast. We're crushing the taboos and we're rewriting the rules. It's the space where we normalize women becoming wealthy. If you're done playing small and ready to become the CEO of your life and the architect of your future, then my girl, you're in the right room. Welcome to your wealthy era. Welcome to the Wellthy CEO podcast.
Today, I'm joined by Gazzy Amin, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and CEO of Sales Beyond Scripts. After working alongside some of the most powerful political leaders in Canada, Gazzy made a bold decision to walk away from the traditional path and build her own. And now she helps women sell with confidence, own their voice, and build real wealth. This is a conversation not just around money, but about showing up unapologetically in business. Let's dive in. Joining me in studio today on the Wellthy CEO podcast is my girl, Gazzy. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy we're here doing this.
I am so grateful, and I was so excited to see that you booked to come in so soon. We recently just met at a high vibe women event. And we had the pleasure of sitting next to each other at a VIP dinner. And your energy was high vibes.
Appropriate.
Yes, appropriate. But, you know, we talked about this offline of just feeling like the universe orchestrated for us to sit next to one another. And so crazy because we are at a women's business event, entrepreneurial event, and yet only God would have known that you have a strong background in politics, and I do by default by starting a nonprofit organization. And years ago, I used to hate the idea of politics. I always said that. And then you start something in as a nonprofit, and you realize that in order to make any amount of everlasting change in this country, because you can go protest and make noise all day long, but at a legislative level, if nothing changes, nothing's going to change.
That's right.
And so we had the pleasure of sitting down next to each other being like, oh my God, there's this like hidden, maybe not something everybody knows about. So I actually want to start there with you because I think your journey and your path of going from public service, government, politics, into powerhouse, business, sales, female, with like masculine bow wrapped up around it, okay? And like what a pivot. So start with your journey in politics. And
what a pivot, eh?
What a pivot.
What a pivot. Because if you would have told me in 2000, let's say 16, 17, when I was in the thick of campaign work, if you would have told me then that I would get out of this, I would have probably laughed because as a daughter of immigrants, I only knew the 9 to 5.
Right.
My father was an entrepreneur, but not by choice because he didn't have a degree here. He didn't have the certifications or the language even to get into what was a 9 to 5, which for immigrants in my family, they put this as like, oh, this really good idea of like when you would finish school and you would work in politics and government, this 9 to 5, these salaries, all these things, they kind of put it on this like high pedestal. Right. And so that's all I knew.
Yeah.
But after a while of being in politics, I burnt out. That's actually what forced me into entrepreneurship. It wasn't that I had a brilliant idea and was like, you know what, I think I could start a business doing this. I was really, really burnt out. And I actually had chronic pain in my body.
Wow.
In my hips specifically.
Like from stress.
From stress. And at the time, I didn't know what any of that meant.
Sure.
I didn't know. I was just like, work, go. Why is my body hurting? Blah, blah, blah. Because maybe you're eating food out. Maybe you're on the road. Maybe you don't sleep. Maybe you don't have friends. But I didn't think about any of those things.
Not drinking water.
Exactly. I was just in this go mentality. Right. And I thought that I would work my way up the political realm. And I imagined I would be there my whole life. But when burnout kind of put me in that position where I had no choice, I had to get really creative about what can I do?
Right.
What can I do? If anything was possible, what could I do? And so I just really forced myself to think outside of the box and say, okay, I know I can do stuff in politics.
Right.
You know, I was the youngest woman at almost every table I was at. most cases, the only women of color at a table of men who almost always looked a certain way. And so I knew I had something, like I could do something. And I always brought value to every table, but I didn't know what it would be. And so I had to get really creative, which is different than some entrepreneurs. They have an idea.
Right.
They have something they're super passionate about. I was kind of like I need to figure this the fuck out. What am I going to do? And so the first kind of pivot, or I should say step into entrepreneurship, was I was like, what's something that I know how to do? I've run ads before. Cool. Let me do some marketing for small businesses. Mm-hmm. And so I asked my friend who was a jewelry business if he would let me do some marketing for him. And that kicked off. And I realized, hey, I'm actually onto something. And so that was kind of my first little bit. And then once I realized, oh, I can make money on my own. And once I made what I used to make in a month, in a day, I was like, there is no way that I would ever go back to working in that way. And that's why I'm so passionate about entrepreneurship, because I see the lifestyle that it gets to create for women particularly. Yeah. And I love that lifestyle.
So one of the things I want to ask you, I hope you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Just to give some context. Yeah. Is how old were you when you started in politics? And then how old were you when you had this idea to run ads for your friend?
I was 15 when I started in politics as a volunteer. Yeah. My parents wanted me to be involved in the community. I needed to get community hours. My mom always believed in like helping us get in the right rooms, which now looking back, I'm like, I got it from my mama. But she got me volunteering at a young age. And by the time I was 18, I had a paid internship already. I worked in politics. Yeah. And I'm not just talking about like a reception table. Like I worked for mayors, premiers, prime ministers, all while being in my undergrad. I actually couldn't go to my political science classes because I was with Justin Trudeau doing the actual election bit. And try explaining that to your professor. Like, hi, sir, I can't come to learn about the first day of the campaign writ because I'm actually on the campaign. Yeah. Here's some pictures for proof. Yeah. So that was when it was really good. And so I was leveling up. I was meeting the right people. I was getting promoted. Again, that was like, oh, I'm on the right track. Right. And I started feeling pain in my body when I was 22, 23.
Okay.
That's when it first started. I got MRIs. Nobody knew what it was about. I would go to doctors. I was practicing yoga. I couldn't really figure out what it was. And then now, having come on the other side of it, I know it was my body giving me a sign that like, we can't handle this. Right. And there was too much stress in my body. Yeah. And I didn't know what a regulated nervous system was at that time, but she was unregulated at that time, right? Like it's crazy. And so now looking back in entrepreneurship, I'm like, oh, that was burnout. But when I was in it, that's the only way.
Yeah. Well, and two, like when you're in industries like that with campaigning, it is go, go, go. Nobody is sleeping. You're sleeping on the desk in front of you. Right. When you're on the bus, like 5 minutes, shoulder, kinks in your necks. And like, that's not even just considered normal, but almost like praised, right? Like it's almost glorified.
Correct.
And so it's like, well, that's just part of the territory.
Correct.
And
which is why it's a boys' club, because as women, we can't operate that way. You can for a short period of time, but to go, sometimes campaign cycles, multiple months at a time. I myself was on a campaign cycle for 11 months on the road. Yeah. Like, 11 months. No. Like, come on. No. How is my body going to even keep up with this? But you're right to say there was this level of shame and guilt if you weren't working so hard. You know, like when people ask me, how are you? And people are like, oh, so busy. I'm like, that's the stuff they loved in that thing. Right. They always wanted you to be busy. And people would flex like, oh, I was here till 8 last night. I had to wake up 5 a.m. for this work thing. Yeah. And for me, now success looks so different because a metric that I use is how well rested I am, how many hours I sleep, versus before it was kind of the more exhausted or burnt out or hardworking you were, the more you were worthy of receiving more opportunities. Yeah. And I just now even saying that, I'm like, oh my God, that feels so not for me anymore. Yeah. Like I just can't imagine that way anymore.
Well, and I think too, and I know you've been in these conversations, you've probably even spoken about this yourself and sat at the tables where There's really a movement of women who are committed to saying it actually doesn't have to be that way. In fact, it no longer is glorified to be that.
That's right.
Right? And we're trying to shift that narrative that hard doesn't have to equate success.
That's right.
And it doesn't have to be woo-wee of saying ease and flow and manifesting your success, because, you know, sometimes for that it's like woo-woo for people. But there is real truth and merit to being able to not be burnt out and actually be the best version of yourself. Rested, eating well, hydration, family time.
Well, that's
right?
what our entrepreneurship allows for.
Right, it does.
That's the gift of entrepreneurship, where for once, women aren't being told that you have to leave your kid at home to come work at a desk for these hours.
Yeah.
Because an entrepreneur who is a mom gets to choose that it's not this or that, it gets to be both.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend an hour driving home from an office, because if you create your own business, your daughter could just be right beside you. And so that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, where we haven't seen this before,
Right.
where we're creating a new way of work, and that's going to change the capital in women's hand. That's going to change how the economy works. And for as long as women were in 9-to-5s, which again, I know lots of incredibly successful corporate women, and to each their own. If it works, my sister's a corporate executive, it works for her, it works for her. But should someone want to choose a different way of working, where they don't have to work a 9-to-5, where they can work from their phone, they can work through mat leave, like, it's just a new model of working. And I think what a beautiful time to be a woman, what a beautiful time to be an entrepreneur, because we are rewriting what that traditional workplace looks like. I know so many of my friends who are now the breadwinners of the home, working way differently, working from home, and just totally changing the idea of what working and income in a household or in a workplace looks like. And that's why I'm so obsessed with entrepreneurship, because look at what we can create. There are no limits. There are no rules made by men. We create the rules for our own businesses.
I love that. Woo! Stop. Oh,
freedom. Yes.
I love it. So I want to circle back to what I was saying. Like, I hope I'm okay to ask you this, because I asked about how old you were when you first got into politics. When you made, without realizing you were making this pivot, okay, but the subtle pivot before it became an actual I'm doing this. How old were you at that point?
22, 23, 24 was when I was thinking about all this stuff. It was like this whisper in the back of my mind being like, I'm sure you could do something different. I also traveled to Costa Rica, which we connected on, and being in Costa Rica opened my eyes to so many different things that when I was working a 9-to-5, I was so trapped. I wasn't thinking that way. And so it lingered, the idea lingered for a few years, but it was between like 22 to 24 where it really got serious. And by 24, I had already kicked off the business at that time. So it had been lingering in the early 20s, but I knew I was onto something by like 24. I had already made money that way.
And you're 29.
29 now.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing. Like, happy, almost like you're enjoying your last year in the 20s decade.
That's right.
The reason why I'm asking you this is because it's so wild, right? We are in a time where it's never been easier to make money online and make money in general. And yet there's so much noise. There's so much distraction. There's so much saturation and information coming to us that so many people are actually stuck because they're consuming rather than producing and being creative. And I wanted to ask your age, because you're literally proof of concept for your generation.
Totally.
Right? Because I'm a solid 10 plus years on you. and which I love. Like, I love. And there's so much of myself that I see in you when I was your age. Like, I started Freedom when I was 25 years old, and I was starting my real estate career at the same time and building. And I don't know, I think we might have talked about this as well, you know, like doing the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. nights and then waking up at 6 and going to the gym and like doing and it was like you're doing all of the things, you know. But that was a very different time. I feel like you're much closer to where we're at right now, and where so many people still get stuck and they feel that it's hard. Like, you're proof of concept that if she can do it, whoever is listening, they can do it. And so I wanted to kind of set that tone as we dive into your story now and your business and some advice that you're going to have for women is to really take that in, that if Gazzy can do it, you're able to do this as well.
I'm not special. In fact, I
would argue you are. I think you're pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you. I receive it. But seriously, like, I didn't have the best grades. I wasn't that studious growing up. I don't come from a rich family. So when I say those things just to preface that when I say this is what I didn't have any shortcuts. My parents didn't give me money to be like, yeah, we believe in your dream. Like, if anything, they're counting on me to help them. So I preface that because sometimes when I would look at other women, and I'm saying I'm a woman of color, right? So I wanted to see people who look like me, who came from families that look like mine.
Right.
So I could see relatable success. Because when I was young, I did know some entrepreneurs, I did know some businesses, but they weren't immigrants.
Right.
And so for me, it's extra special to be that for my younger version self, right?
Yeah.
Like this weekend, I'm actually speaking at McMaster University to a group of university students called You Want to Be an Entrepreneur?
Amazing.
Like running a session to show them that, like, hey, I'm just a few years older than you. We look the same. Like, if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. There really is no difference between us. Yeah. And it's really just that grit to have, like, I could do it, but there was nothing that I had that was a handout or a shortcut that would make me like, oh, she can do it, but I can't, you know?
So what do you think your secret sauce or your secret power was? Because I'm going to say be at maybe what some people would say is at a disadvantage, or certainly at a neutral standpoint, regardless, like clean slate.
That's it.
No platter, no tools.
Yeah.
What do you think actually was your secret power?
I take action really quickly, and I take messy action all the time. I will launch something way before I'm ready.
Okay.
And that helped me.
Yeah.
Because I know for some entrepreneurs, they stay stuck in idea mode for so long.
Sure.
My expertise that I coach people on and my energy is, I go from idea to execution quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't say I go from idea to perfection quickly.
Right.
I go from idea to execution quickly. So if I have an idea in my mind, I bring that to life. So I thought, hey, you know what? I want to start creating content on Instagram. I started the next day.
Right.
There are people who will spend months thinking about what to make the handle name, what to make the brand, what's the bio. Mm-hmm. I just thought of the first thing I could. It was authentic Gazzy. I was like, I'm going to live an authentic life. Authentic Gazzy. And the first picture was like, hey, this is me. This is what this page is going to be committed for. Right. So I think that's something that it sounds so easy, like take action, but truly this is my biggest weapon. Right. Because I can think of an idea, and I'm the opposite of my husband. He's someone who really takes time making decisions. And I agree, we need those types of people. But as an entrepreneur, my ability to move on ideas quickly, to be a visionary and to think of something and the next day come up with it. Yeah. I decided 2 weeks ago I would have a YouTube channel. It's starting this week.
I love it.
People would take months thinking about this.
Totally.
For me, I believe the learning comes in the doing. Yeah. It doesn't sit in the researching. Yeah. Nobody got successful with good ideas because ideas are cheap. Yeah. The game of entrepreneurship is about execution. Totally. And so that's my ability. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm quick. And even if it's not perfect, even if it's messy, even if there are mistakes, I rather get it done than to not build trust with myself that I'm not a woman who can execute. Yeah. My confidence comes from my ability that I execute shit. Yeah. And so when people are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I proved to myself that I could do it. Yeah. Nobody told me. I didn't start with affirmations thinking, oh, I could do this. I could do this. I'm going to have 10,000 followers. It didn't happen that way. Right. One post at a time, I decided I would create and I would do. Right. So I think sometimes that's something that as women, we forget, because especially in the online space, there's this conversation around like effortless and manifesting. And while those are true, you can do things with an effortless energy, but effort is a requirement. Totally. And so there is no shortcut to results. It takes effort. And I am a woman who I take that on. I'm like, perfect. I know what I can do and I will execute on it.
Yeah.
So there wasn't as much of a strategy or this idea that it was like, oh, this is going to be profitable. I'm onto something. But it was in my, let's call it essence as a CEO of I call it my get shit done ability.
Yeah.
Some people need to crank that up.
Yeah, I agree.
Crank that up because they're stuck in the journaling and the visualization. And that's kind of where my masculine energy comes in, where I'm like, oh, let's get done.
Yeah.
From idea to execution
Totally.
as quickly as possible. And I'm grateful because that really has served me in the game of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, okay, you've said so many awesome things. And even just with what you just said, it was like I could hear Alex Hormozi being like, fuck your morning routine of your journal and prayers and whatever, you know, and not to say that what he's doing is the right way. I don't know if you saw the interview between him and Tony Robbins.
I did, which
him.
I loved so much.
Me too. I thought it was phenomenal.
Yes.
And he has built a huge multi-hundred million plus empire. Yes. And yet Tony Robbins got his way in there with his passion and spanked him.
Yes.
Right? So it's not to say that everything that Alex does
is too masculine is wrong as well, and the too feminine isn't the answer.
Right.
It's that yin and yang perfect match. And you can see Alex, who I love dearly and study and buy all the stuff and all the things, also Iranian as well.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that.
He got what Tony said. He moved from being in the heart to being in the head.
Yeah.
And you need a balance of those two. Some of us are too, some of us are too in the heart and not enough in the head. Some are too in the head and enough in the heart.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that balance of energies that it's like, yes, you'd love to start your morning grounded and stuff, but nothing I love more than starting my morning than making sales.
Totally. Yeah.
Like my husband's like, you eat deals for breakfast. And I was like, I think that should be a tagline of mine. I eat deals for breakfast because that confidence and belief that I build in myself, that before most people have woken up, that I've moved the needle on my business.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more powerful than an affirmation.
Yeah.
That energy is
it's proof of that affirmation, right?
That's right. It's the affirmation in action.
Totally.
It's the experience of being the affirmation, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
And, and you brought up even the word balance, and there's a time and a place, and there's also seasons, right? Yep. Like seasons change. So, sometimes your mornings are like, especially if you just come off of like a huge launch and you're trying to recalibrate your system, having that morning time and space of quiet and stillness and meditation and all of that could probably serve really useful to helping bring your whole body back into balance.
Totally.
But always being in Zen and yoga might not be the right season if you're wanting to do certain things in your business, and especially when you're talking about action and execution, and I know you said ideas are cheap. I always think about how many billionaires there are out there with their ideas. Like people are sitting on $1 billion ideas, but they failed to execute. Mostly they fail to take the risk on themselves.
That's right.
For the risk of failure and embarrassment and whatnot. One of the things that I think is your secret sauce, this is why I wanted to ask you, and although your answer, obviously, proof is in the pudding, before even the execution component is really the strength of your mind. Because mindset, that's like where it all starts.
It's everything.
Right?
It's everything.
Do you find you've always been that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. I think my parents raised me that way to be a winner, to be the best at everything I do, to give everything my 100%.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just in my essence.
Yeah.
Like even grocery shopping. It's like, if we're going through this aisle, pay attention because we're not going to do it again. Yeah. So even just like doing something right. Once I learned so many of those, I would say those personality traits from my family.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship challenged me in a new way.
Yeah.
Because I had to have such a strong belief because nobody else believed in me at the beginning. So some people have the blessing of having parents who were like, hey, study whatever you want. My parents were like, you're going to become you're going to become a politician. Like, you're going to become a lawyer. That's really what my dad wanted. You're going to become a lawyer. Funny. That's it, you know? And so already politics was a little bit of a sway for them. Yeah. But at that beginning stage, we said mindset. Was I always like this? I had doubt.
Yeah.
I had doubt, so much of it. So much doubt. And it wasn't as much as it was my doubt, then it was the people around me's doubt. And they wanted the best for me.
Of course.
Right? My parents just wanted me to do well, to get a career that paid well so that I could build a life for myself in this country. I love that for them. And I love them for that. Yeah. But at the time, without them realizing it, are you sure this is the right idea? What are we going to tell people? What about this? What about security? What about that? That sticks to you.
Right.
And so there was a point in my journey where I really had to block out that external noise.
Right.
And just say, I just need to believe in myself. And I remember I had a mentor who shared this with me and said, at the beginning, you're going to be running for a while by yourself. Maybe the first lap, maybe the second lap. And after you do a few laps and they see how incredible the journey looks, they're going to want to come along for the ride. So it took my parents a few years. It took my husband a day. He was on board. The moment I told him, he was my rock. He believed in me from the first day I told him the vision. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a gift.
It is, because it doesn't always happen like that.
It doesn't. Yeah. And I had somebody ask my husband 2 days ago saying, you know, I have struggles with my partner believing in me, and I just want to hear from a man's perspective. How was it for you to believe in Gazzy when the proof wasn't in the pudding?
Right.
Sure, now there's proof. We've made a couple 6 figures. Yeah. We've bought homes together. We've traveled in different countries, all because of the freedom and that this business has brought. But that energy of having someone believe in you. Now, I was lucky that I had Ali, but before I had Ali, it was just me and my brain. Back and forthing this doubt. And I had to build enough belief that when someone doubted my idea, that it didn't waver. You know, someone would be like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Oh my God. Like my political colleagues, they could not believe that I was leaving that sort of a lifestyle to, at that time, post on Instagram. They were like,
good luck.
We're not seeing it, girl. We're not seeing it. So you're going to become like, is it an influencer? Like, oh, you're going to try a small business?
Yeah.
And so I had to have so much belief in myself that when they would say those things, that it would just be water off a duck's back. It's all good. Yeah. I'm just on my first 2 laps. In a few laps, they're going to want to come around for the journey. And is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's beautiful advice, actually. Like, it's really, really good advice to give somebody. You know?
I also just want to say that you don't have to have belief of others to get started, because sometimes people are waiting for that. Yeah. And sometimes that never comes.
Well, I always say, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect anybody else to.
That's
so like
right.
It has to start with you first.
That's right. And I think that's what my husband said, where he got his belief in me, is he said she believed so much in herself that it was, in a sense, magnetic.
Correct. Yeah.
That he also wanted to believe in the vision. So I never said like, I don't know about this business. I don't really know. I was like, I just know. And I still do. Yeah. I was crying a few nights ago being like, I just know that I'm meant for something incredible. Like, I can feel it in my body. And so he's listening to that and he's like, I believe in you, babe. Whatever you want. I believe in you. Like, you just tell me I believe in you.
I love it.
But if I was dourting myself, of course that doubt would creep in.
Yeah.
He would feel the doubt as 100%. Well. And so it's this dance between like believing in yourself so much that you don't need anybody else, but also getting people that will believe in you. If it's not your family, go to events.
Yeah.
Go to groups. Go on trips. Get in these masterminds where other women could share some of their belief with you. I have some, somebody called them hope holders. I had some of those when I first got started. Women who didn't know me that well, but were entrepreneurs that were like, you're on to something, girl. Yeah. You're on to something.
Keep going.
Keep going. Mm-hmm. So though I didn't have family necessarily, my sister believed in me. But it was kind of like, let's see what you could do. But I found entrepreneurs who had evidence of they were where I was, and they're telling me that they believe in the idea. Yeah. And so I really soaked that up as well. We met at a women's event. I put so much time and energy into getting into room with women because I could borrow belief from them.
Totally.
And I share belief with them. I borrow belief with them. I share ideas.
Yeah.
I borrow ideas. And so if I couldn't find it with my family, I would find it in other rooms. But again, those are on the outside. It really started with me first. But hey, we don't have 100% belief all the time.
No.
And so we fill them in with these little bits, friends who believe in you and communities who can borrow and share belief with you if you don't fully have your own belief yet.
And, you know, I've talked about this actually before on this podcast as to most likely, most of us will experience that the people that are closest to you and your family are not the people that you should be counting on to be your cheerleader, to support you, and also that you should be taking advice from.
That's it.
You know, you should only ever be taking advice from people who have already done what you want to do or who are doing bigger and better things that you aspire to be doing, right? And I always use a boxing ring as an analogy where it's like if you're not in the ring and you haven't fought the same fight or you haven't, you know, done better and you're not in that ring, then why are you taking advice from the critics?
That's right.
Give them a front row seat.
That's
Like
right.
I always say, buy them a ticket.
That's it.
Buy them a ticket and just say, when I need your advice, I'll actually ask you for it. And you can put a boundary up for that because there's been times even in my life and starting Freedom and, you know, it's a really ugly topic of fighting human trafficking. That's not a pillow, light, easy, whatever. And, you know, my parents were worried and nervous and also thought I was a little crazy when I first came home and I was like, listen, I see all of these girls and they need help. They're being, at the time I didn't know the word human trafficking, but I was like, you know, they're being forced into prostitution. And anyways, to skip forward a bit, you know, when I was like, I'm going to start this organization, like, you know, I had all kinds of people being like, I don't think you should do that. Like, I had 1,000 reasons to not.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I would have listened to them, then
we wouldn't be here today.
We wouldn't be here.
That's
and
right.
never mind me, but like, and I think I shared this with you, but we've funded the rescue of over 500 girls in Canada, and we've changed federal legislation at the criminal code, as you know, but most people only know it as federal legislation 3 times in Canada. Like, we have changed the makeup and the history of this country. And that wouldn't have happened.
That's it.
You know, and you wouldn't be where you are today in your business if you allow, and it's a muscle that you have to learn, you know, to being like, I didn't ask for your advice. Thank you. In one ear, out the other.
That's it.
And then you go call on those hope holders, your proof of, you know, evidence of what is possible. And that's hard for a lot of people because we so desperately, and you're not wrong for feeling it, you want your family to like be proud of you and like feeling support. But like you said, I really love the analogy of doing the laps because eventually they'll come round.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
By the time my parents started seeing we were eating at free restaurants, we were making money, we were traveling, they're like,
Keep
wow,
doing what you're doing.
What are you doing? Like, can I come to one of your events?
Yeah.
You know? And on that note of like, who are we learning from?
Right.
You know, today as we're filming this, my cousin is here. She's 13. And yesterday she asked me, because I told her, I've hired a new mentor. Yeah. And she asked me, why do you hire a mentor? Yeah. And I said, I hire people who have done the things that I want to do, who have the experience, so they can tell me what worked well and what could work better or didn't work for them.
And also your blind spots.
That's it. So I didn't say I hire my best friend. I didn't say I go to my mom because I love her so much. Yeah. I hire people who have the goal that I desire and ask them questions, much like yourself. When I met you at High Vibe, I'm a student of life. You told me you have property in Costa Rica. I want to have property in Costa Rica. Bam, perfect. Yeah. So now I'm asking all my questions. What worked for you? What about this? Oh, it's rainy season. So I'm always, as an entrepreneur, thinking, how can I work smarter, not harder? Totally. And the easiest way is to find someone who has done exactly what it is you want to create and get in their energy. And don't ask to pick their brain. Pay for their time. Invest in their programs. Go to their events to truly be able to learn from them because That's what's going to get you closer to your goal. Not asking your Uncle Joe at Thanksgiving what he thinks about this new e-commerce business, because probably he's not going to have an answer that's going to make you feel inspired or empowered. And so you want to talk to other people who have done the thing you want to do because they have, I'm air quoting, the roadmap. It's not, doesn't look the same for everyone, but they have some insight. And so for me, I invest time and money to hire a mentor, to hire coaches, to speak with people and learn from them, because that's where the value is. And so I'm not asking for everyone's advice. I'm asking for specific people, their advice, and their advice is based on the goal that they have that I desire. So it's strategic advice asking. You wouldn't see me ask. I actually say, like, I'm a leader who makes decisions quickly. I don't need to ask a lot of people's opinions because I believe in myself. And so I don't need to ask mom, aunt, uncle, blah, 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 what they think about this, because I trust myself. But when there are things that I do need expert guidance on, I'm paying the right people and not just calling X, Y, and Z because, they might be free to take this phone call right now.
Hey friend, if this conversation is speaking to you, please do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It's how we grow the show, reach more women, and build a future where Wellthy is female. This isn't just content. This is an invitation to a new society for women. Let's rise and build it together.
It's so funny. Like as you're talking about making decisions and trusting yourself, I'm like, I don't know if you know this about yourself or not, but Richard Branson would feel like you're one of his little disciples.
I like that. That's a good compliment.
It is. I think it's a great compliment.
I think so.
Because earlier when you were talking about executing and and getting it done, and the speed in which you can make decisions will determine how much money you make ultimately. But Richard Branson will talk about this. He talks about it enough if you've ever studied him or watched him, about how he's made way more mistakes in trusting himself in making the mistake, realizing it's a mistake, and then pivoting fast, correcting fast, rather than trying to spend too much time on whether or not it's the right decision to make or not.
That's right.
Right. And so he's like, I'm bold and confident in the decision I'm making. And if it's a wrong one, we'll fix it and we're going to keep moving forward. But we can't spend 2 weeks trying to figure out if this is the right decision. That's right. And, he's got so many freaking companies. And I mean, he's a man. I really love his balance, because for me, he's one of the most successful business entrepreneurs on the planet.
That's right.
Who I would say has the most fun I've ever seen an entrepreneur have.
I love that about him.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so a couple of times as you've shared some of your, I'm going to call them like pillars that you live by in your business, that's what keeps coming up for me. I'm like, Richard Branson.
Because here's the thing, like, this is what I think. If I take so long to think if this is the right or wrong answer, I'm just in analysis paralysis, and you don't build confidence in that state. You build confidence in doing and seeing evidence, and that evidence builds belief.
Totally.
And the belief drives more action. So in my mind, if I'm up like, should I do this or do this? I just do both things.
I know.
And both will, and I also make results based on data and not feeling. I trust my gut. I have a very, very good intuitive sense. But when it comes to making decisions, there are times where I will make decisions with a feeling, like who I want to work with or where I want to travel or the man that I'll marry. I trust my feeling on that. But there's a lot of times where I look at data. And so when someone's like, should we do this or do we do this? I'm like, let's just go from idea to execution. And next week we'll see the data and we'll see what the data tells us.
I love that.
And so we can just move quickly that way. And really in entrepreneurship, it's not about winning big every time.
No.
You just have to win big a few times. But what you need consistently is momentum.
Totally.
And so if you stop momentum to think or stop momentum to just talk about it, see if there's a better answer, that's actually more damaging to the business than just doing it and failing and doing it wrong and pivoting quickly. So for me, I'm not really as concerned about like strategy and the right, let's say like the key to this or that. I'm just wanting to stay in momentum all the time.
Totally.
Because with momentum, you can't get it wrong. Even if you fall, if you have momentum, you just get back up and you keep running.
And there's also a lesson that you got to learn from in that.
Every single
If you're plateauing,
time.
there's nothing there. There's no lesson. There's actually more confusion.
That's right.
Right? You start lacking clarity. You said confidence starts retreating.
Right away. And that's the most damaging part because you don't trust in yourself. The confidence goes, now you don't want to execute on anything.
Exactly.
So I'm like, fuck around, find out. It's worked for me multiple times. Like, I suggest it always. The worst that can happen is you learn a really good lesson out of it.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. I feel like we could continue down this conversation forever. And it's so important. And I would love for people to dive into sales.
Yes.
And
let's talk about it.
Let's open that up a bit. Because obviously, especially in the world of online, sales are not everything, but they're like 90%, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a huge part. And so I want to ask you, like, what do you see? I want to call out women on this.
Yeah, me too.
Forget the men right now, okay?
Yeah.
Even though men, we love you, and if you're listening, like, kudos, but send this to a woman who needs this.
Yes.
What do you see women doing wrong in selling?
We avoid selling and we only do it when it's necessary. And if you treat sales like something you do once in a while, you're not going to scale the business.
So give me an example.
They'll sell when they need money.
Yeah.
Then they'll go back to delivery and
Yeah.
then they need money again. And so they only visit the department of sales when they need it.
Right. So to your point, actually, even earlier, like there is no momentum.
There is no
It's
momentum.
very stagnant.
That's right.
Right.
We go to sales when we need it. Now, the way I see sales is it's the lifeline of the business.
It
Right?
is.
No
Yeah.
sales, no business.
Right.
No profit, bankruptcy.
Right.
So the way I see us women get in our own way about it is we avoid it for some reason.
Right.
And I think I know the reason. I think it's because for so long, men were teaching women how to do this thing called selling. And men do it in a very different way than women do.
Sure.
And I've trained lots of men, incredible sales rep, worked with tons of them, been coached by some of them. So no shade against that. But the word bro marketing and icky sales, that came because of our fellow male entrepreneurs who made this art of selling something that felt really, really icky in the body, really icky to do. So not only would women avoid selling, we would avoid being sold to. We don't want to be in sales conversations. Maybe this doesn't apply to everyone. If you're a woman who loves sales, you're my type of gal. But most women that come to me, they'll come to me because they don't feel confident in that department. And I feel like in this 2026 digital era, there's so much focus on visibility, marketing, brand, voice, all those things. And those are incredible parts of a business.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
But what about sales? Why have we stopped talking about this as if it's not the lifeline of the business? And so my mission is not just about reframing in the mind how we think about sales, which is my dominant belief about sales is every time you sell, you help someone.
Right.
That's
you are.
the truth.
Yeah.
But a lot of us, we don't feel that. I mean, maybe if you're listening to this podcast, you'll ask yourself, like, if I were to explain selling, what's the first word that comes to my mind? Most people don't have an empowering feeling or word to associate with it.
Yeah.
A lot of times it even comes from our money stories as kids and what we've been taught about, like what's expensive, what's worth it, what's an investment, what's like those sorts of things. Yeah. These are taboo-ish-er conversations. It's so much easier and sexier to talk about marketing.
But also too, don't you think that, well, I mean, this is like an onion. I feel like there's so many layers to this because, you know, it can absolutely be around worthy issues, mindset issues, how you think about money, not being able to hold it, you know, masculine and energy or masculine and feminine energy conflicts.
That's right.
Right? Like there's so many things there. But I also think that sometimes it is probably that you actually don't even believe in your own service that you're offering or the product you're offering, or that there's not enough value, that you actually are lack of confidence because you know that. You know, the question is really is like, would you actually buy and pay for that if you heard Gazzy talking about that, or if you heard Shae talking about that?
And I can hear from someone's voice when they talk to me about their product or their story or their business. I can tell someone who believes in their product and someone who doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
Someone who doesn't believe in it's like, oh, I just do this, or it's just that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have someone who knows their product, you want to buy in because of their conviction.
Sure, of course.
So I always say, like, do not try and sell me until you've sold yourself. You got to do your homework to sell yourself first.
Right.
If you're not sold, you can't sell me. There's just no way.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm so in love with what I sell is because I'm in love with what I do.
Totally.
I love helping women. I speak with conviction.
Yeah.
But that's the first part of it, because I could even give you a strategy. You know, sometimes people come to me, they're like, Gazzy, just tell me what to say on the calls. Got sales calls. What's the system? What's the email thing? Sure, I could give you all of that stuff.
Right.
But if you don't have conviction,
100%,
you don't have belief in yourself and your ability to provide transformation, to get your product into hands where people, where their lives will be changed, there's no point. I could tell you what to say, but if the energy isn't there.
No, it's everything. You can literally give the exact same script to two different people.
That's it.
One will close, one will not.
And this is why I was so great in sales. And people would ask me, my colleagues who I would sell with would be like, why do people love talking on the phone with you? But when I answer, they hang up on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think we're going in with two very completely different energies, mindsets, identities, leadership levels. Again, same script. And so sometimes, again, like, it makes me sad when I see in the sales space and in the industry when we make it all about like the DM script, the objection handling, the things you'll say that will get everyone to pay in full, because sales isn't about saying the right word.
Right.
It's not about that. It's about being the person who listens to that person and finds the solution for their problem.
Totally.
So if you don't care about helping people, sales is not a good place for you to be in.
Yeah.
And the online space has made it all around money. And hey, the money is great.
Yeah.
I love a commission cut. I love hitting sales targets. I thrive off of that.
Right.
But if you're in it for that reason, you're not in the right space. Sales is about service. And so my whole brand, my company is called Sales Beyond Scripts, because I want to show people that to be successful in sales and for it to be effortless is not about just getting a script and reading off of it or having this proven framework that someone will implement into your business. It's about a mindset.
Yeah.
It's about a system. It's about a leadership level. And so I'm trying to kind of bring that into this very male-dominated industry. It's a tough battle, but we're going there, ladies, one day at a time, trying to show women that it feels good to sell and it can feel effortless. And I know when I say that to women, they're like, really? How? And I'm like, there is a new way. Yeah. You don't have to learn from those people. There is a different way to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm passionate about bringing.
You know, and I think, and you just said the word passionate, but that's what I was going to say is that if you aren't passionate about what you do, it's just going to be another job, literally, right? You know, except not guaranteed money. So at that point, you might as well go to a 9-to-5.
Get back to the 9-to-5. At least you know on Thursdays they're paying you.
Exactly, you know, and I love that you said it's not like, well, you said this in a certain way, and I say this all the time as a realtor, is like, we're not in a sales industry, we're in a service industry.
That's
and
right.
If you care about people, like, you'll actually appreciate this, you know, like my team has been around for 40 years and we've had the honor of being number 1 in the world twice with Remax, over 10 times in Canada. And you know, when my dad would get asked to speak at these different conferences or whatever, they would be like, you know, what's the gold nugget? What is the secret, you know, to your success? And literally he would go up there and he would be like, loving people.
That's it.
And I'm like, you know, you could see almost the disappointment on so many people's faces.
They're like, wait, what?
They're waiting
I paid
to
for
write,
that?
right, exactly. Like they're waiting with their paper to like write down the 5 points. And obviously there are 5 points, but his main thing was loving people. And I say all the time to agents, you know, even myself, like I was our number 2 producer on our team last year in my first year of motherhood on mat leave.
Yes.
And in our industry, 55% of realtors last year did 0 deals.
That's it.
Okay. 0 sales. Why is the difference with me is because when you are serving your audience, when you're serving people, naturally they want to work with you, right? And they can feel that
genuine care.
They can. And my industry of realtors, I mean, I always say 1 in 3 people are a realtor. Like one of those people out in the podcast studio is probably also a part-time realtor, right? Like literally 1 in 3 are like a realtor. And our industry has been overly saturated with all shitty realtors. There's way more horrible realtors than there are good.
That's right.
And the unfortunate part is that there's this misconception that you can make a lot of money really quickly. And so entered in the cheap car salesman sales industry, right? Where you feel like you're being sold to and pitched to. You're just a transaction and a number. And can you make a lot of money in this industry? Absolutely.
Sure.
But if you are there for the numbers, you might hit a jackpot every now and then, right? Yep. And I always say abundance is everything. There is a market, there is a place for those type of agents. Like I know agents that are really arrogant and they roll you through.
Yeah, it works.
Like you are, and it does work for them. And they attract those same type of people. Yeah. But generally, that won't work, right? And you have to remember you are here to serve people, and you brought this up, that there's a problem. If you can be the solution in love, you'll create clients for life. They will continue to come back to you. And that is also the beauty of my industry, is that usually every 5 years, that's the average, that somebody will buy a home and sell it for all kinds of reasons, expanding families, you know, empty nesters, retirement, downsizing, and so you have an opportunity to actually create a client for life. You know, no different with you. I'm sure seeing people that are going from like conception of idea, they're growing to 6 figures, then they're scaling to 7, and you got to be a part of that journey, because you weren't just a person who sold them something, even though you're in sales.
And we all know those people. We felt
all know
where
those
it's
people.
Like they saw our face and all they saw was numbered eyes and a transaction, and you're just a prospect in that pipeline. And in a world where so many people look that way, I think what's beautiful about you and I is we're the believers that there are still people that do care about service. Like I worked with Bob Proctor, and the number one thing he taught me is sales is service. And I never forgot that. Yeah. Sales is service. Every time I sell, it's someone that is getting help right there. And so I go in with that with every transaction. And when I see the reputation that I've also built is that people remember that they loved working with me, versus when some people get sold to is like, I don't even want to talk about it near that person, because I feel like they're just going to want the credit card. Right. They just feel like everything is for money. Yeah. And so I'm really just trying to create a new wave of a movement where we create a better reputation for sales, because the more you sell, the more people you help. If you have a cream, the more of that you sell, the more people get help. If you have a program, the more people in there, the better the world is going to be. But I feel like we have to come back to that foundation, which is love people, care about helping others. This is a service-based industry. If you genuinely want to help people, you will do well. And that's why I see the top people that do well in sales, they're not the people. It's actually like people are like, oh, I'm introverted, I wouldn't be good at sales, or I'm not that good at public speaking. I'm like, if you care about people, you'll do incredible in this space, because whether the person sees you or not, they can feel care. Totally. We all know what care feels like. And you can feel that on the phone. As soon as someone says hello, 100%. You can feel the care or that icky feeling. Yeah. And so it's that energy. And what I start with first and foremost is that belief, that foundational belief, because we can't build if that's not there first. And like you said, you might get some quick wins. Yeah. But if that foundation of really understanding what is sales and falling in love with the idea of selling. Yeah. If we don't have that, then it's going to be a really uphill battle wanting to sell more. Because if you feel that selling is a bad thing, or it feels wrong, or feels weird, or feels uncomfortable, you're not going to want to do it. Right. So we have to get you to a place where you want to do more of it. I love selling. Yeah. I told you right before we hopped on this, hey, there's an opportunity for you to be on a stage somewhere else, because I know it's going to help your brand. Right. I feel incredible selling that opportunity to you. I'm like, I'm not even going to post about it on my Instagram. I want Shae to know about it first, because you cared about me and I want to care about you, that same care you gave me. And so if that's not first, that front feeling, that's why it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. That's why I say sales can be effortless with effort.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So I want to give everybody an invitation. My first podcast episode of this year, I really feel that we as women are called to lead differently this year. Yes. And I'm going to kind of get a little faith-based here for a moment if I can with you.
Of course.
There's so much dark and ugly that's happening in our world. And I think that the darker the dark gets, the more evident it is where the light is, that's where you see the light, okay? Yes. And people like you and me who embody love, part of our responsibility is to be light.
Yes.
Okay? We have an invitation to co-create with the Creator, with God. And one of the best attributes of God is that he is just love. At the core, he is love. That's what we were made out of, right? Every time you create, it's actually an expression of love. Yeah. So maybe part of the reframe for people in sales, and truthfully, this is something I do that I learned from my dad. I told you his secret to success was loving people.
Yes.
Before my dad would go into a listing appointment or take a call for a new lead that would come into the office, literally he would pray that God would give him the words. Most importantly, that he would be able to show love and that people would feel love on the other end, that he'd be able to meet their needs where they're at and solve the problem that they're coming to him for.
Yes.
Okay. I've been in real estate for 17 years and it's something that I've adopted into my way of business. I've actually never shared this.
It's beautiful.
Okay. I've never shared this, and not because there's not a reason to, but I really believe that this year we're called to be beacons of love and light. Yes. And so I gave an invitation to people of being like, what would it actually be like if you co-created with the Creator? To be an entrepreneur, you have to create. If you're not a creative, like 9 to 5 is going to be your place, right? As a woman, even if you don't think you're creative, you are. Yeah. Your whole reproductive system is designed to create.
That's it.
It's actually, even if you don't ever have children, you don't need to have children. You don't need to become a mother to be creative. It is because you are. You are actually designed that way. Yeah. And so if you embrace that rather than fight it and resist it, you'll actually find whatever your zone of genius is ready to literally be birthed out of you and create.
That's it.
But how much more powerful, and talking about 10xing or collapsing time, stepping into the quantum, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
If you were on the other side of that phone call before you took a call and you feel icky in your body about sales.
That's right.
And instead of doing that, you literally just said a prayer up, even if you don't believe in God. This all didn't happen just by chance.
Yeah.
So look up and just be intentional to say, how can I just serve that person?
That's it. Yeah.
Right? And let them feel that from me.
Yeah.
That's it. Just those two lines.
Yeah, you're right. I do a similar thing. I don't pray, but everyone has their own bit. For me, it's just about closing my eyes, thinking about that person in my mind, and saying, I'm just going to be here to listen to them and to help them. And I trust that everything that comes through me is in their highest, and I'm just a vehicle for their transformation. Yeah. And so when I go in, again, it's not about what you say or how you do it, whether it's looking up, whatever you do, but it's about that moment of intentionality of what is my purpose here and who am I going to be for this person and what am I focused on?
Yeah.
Because so many times in sales calls, you're focused about what's the next thing I'm going to say or how should I transition to presenting the offer. And at that part, you've already lost the sale because the focus is off of that person. Yeah. And so really just finding yourself a ritual or right before a conversation, even coming on this podcast, saying to myself, like, I trust whatever is going to come out of me is meant to be this way. Totally. And I trust myself that I'm always guided to say the right thing for the right people who are going to listen. Yep. Now, you could do that as a journal. You could do that as a prayer. You could do that just as a thought a moment of silence. But I love that because it grounds me in what we go back to, which is service.
Totally.
And being reminded that that's what I'm here. This isn't about building my business. It's not about doing X, Y, and Z. It's about being of service to other people. And I always say, like, I'm an open channel for that transformation. Like, if the universe wants to use me to help a bunch of other women, I'm here for it. I'm an open channel.
Amen.
I'm an open channel. You have a message you want me to give to them, I'm an open channel. You have an idea you want me to reaffirm, I'm an open channel. And so I trust in that, and it always works out that way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have an event coming up in April.
Yes.
That I would love for you to share, because this is an opportunity and an invitation of everything we just talked about to be in the room for whatever you need. Find your hope holder.
The podcast is called Wellthy CEO, and the event is called Money Move Summit. So Wellthy CEOs, they make money moves. And that's, I'm part of a group called Run the World. We are an events, I would like to say, experience that happens in Toronto. We've been hosting events here for about 5 years. I'm the project manager. So I'm not the brains behind the beauty. Those are my colleagues. But I'm inviting you all to join us to come to this conference where we're going to be bringing, and this is part of my role, is finding exceptional women who can come speak on these topics for the group. So it's April 24th. It's happening in downtown Toronto at the TD headquarters, and it is a full day experience. There will be 300 and so other women in that room. The energy is going to be magnetic, and we're really talking about things that women need to talk about that maybe isn't as accessible. Like, hey, do you want to talk about exiting your business? Do you want to talk about investing in your first pre-con? These are where the conversations are happening. Do you want to launch an e-commerce? So we're talking about who are those people that can give you belief and show you evidence. They are all going to be in that room on April 24th. And I'm just so excited. We actually haven't, maybe by the time this show airs, we would have kicked off the tickets. We're going to be opening the spots really soon. If you want to get in the room, Run the World is our Instagram page. I personally suggest getting the VIP. There's only 100 of them. They sell out quickly. But personally, as someone who has gone to the VIP, it is so incredible, and I highly suggest it before they sell out.
What's your favorite part about the VIP offering?
So the VIP offering actually gets a night outside of the event. And so there will actually be like an entire different VIP experience. So it's almost 2 experiences in one. And also we are really known for our swag bags. Like, shout out to my colleagues. We put so much love, sweat, and a lot of begging into getting the best products. I'm not talking like little products. We're talking full size, like gift cards, actual money, not coupon codes, like gift cards that you'll be able to use. So that's like one of the things that I really look forward to. And I know my family does too, including my cousins, because I bring them all little swag bags back home. So that's really fun.
I love it. Well, and full circle moment for those listening, Gazzy and I met at a VIP experience for High Vibe. We were part of the VIP ticket holders. And the night before, you and I sat down beside each other. So we would not be, maybe we would have met on the Saturday, but we would probably not be sitting here right now having this conversation without that VIP experience. And so, you know, you get what you pay for.
That's it.
That's part of it.
And I got an incredible friend, and we spoke about Costa Rica together, and I just loved your energy. And that just shows you the power of getting in the right rooms.
Correct.
You know, you asked me earlier, what's one of those secret successes? And I said idea to execution was number 1 for me. But also I think the women I surround myself with are a reflection of where I'm going. And so I'm always getting myself into rooms. So this is my plug of like, you really should be in the rooms. And it's not just what you get on that day of the experience, but look at this podcast a few weeks after the experience. So you never know who you'll meet and what that will open the door for. But I'm an events girly, and I really hope that I will see some of these listeners there. And if you do come to the event, come find me. Tell me you watch the podcast so we can hug in person.
I love it. And we're going to put the link in the show notes so it's easy to find. You can grab your tickets for the event on April 24th.
Oh, Shae.
Gazzy, that's your handle, right?
That's it. Authentic Gazzy.
Besides Instagram, is there another good way to get a hold of you, or is that the best way for people to connect with you?
On Instagram, you'll find the most authentic version of Gazzy. If you want to see me write thought leadership posts that boring corporate clients like to read, you could also follow me on LinkedIn, but I would say Instagram is the best way to connect. I'm always in my DMs, always voice noting, and that's where I love to hang out personally.
I can testify to both of those things.
That's it.
I have received both of those from you. So yes. Thank you so much for being here today. You're
Shae.
fresh of breath air.
Thank you, Shae.
Did I just do that wrong? Yeah.
No, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Fresh of breath of fresh air. Whatever it is, I just want to mirror back to you before we leave how grateful I was that you mirrored possibility for me at that dinner, and you got me thinking about real estate in that big way. Part of growing as a woman is understanding that how I could generate wealth. And I got into the investing space at a very young age. And I just love that you were able to pour into me that night and give me some really incredible feedback that I didn't know about investing that I wouldn't have had if you weren't so generous to share with me. So all I got to say is I'm going to invite you to my beach house when we get it, girl.
And you're all hearing that, so
that's it. Clock it in, ladies. You heard it here first.
I can't wait.
Thanks, Shae. I appreciate you.
Thank you, likewise.
If something in today's episode resonated with you or sparked a shift, tag me on IG or send me a DM. I genuinely love hearing what lands for you. And if it spoke to you, share it or leave a quick review. It helps more women find this show and step into their own wealthy era. Until next time, lead with purpose, live with intention, and stay wealthy.